Hey everyone, welcome to the breakdown. This is Tanya Lee and Johanna Burkhardt.
Hey, hey, hey.
We are hunkering down for Hurricane Dorian.
I don't know why that's so funny.
Listen, we're taking precautions because, with all the things that are going on with the storm, we decided to do this a day early, just so that we didn't have to worry about anything if it does hit Johanna's area in North Carolina. So we are gracious that, we were able to move things around and for our guest as well. So it's been interesting to say the least.
Yes, we appreciate you guys for following along with our crazy schedule.
So we are on episode 124, and on tonight's episode, we wanted to break down not just DNA, but some of the science, the philosophy, and some of the things that go on it for health benefits with these terms called DNA activation, restructure, the whole shebang. And we have we have a lovely guest on board, and Johanna's going to do the intro for that. But before we get in there, I really wanted to talk about, the whole idea of DNA, right? So what is DNA? We all know from our science days of when, we were kids that we learned the double helix and the strands and what's based on there. But even with the science that has been brought up into our attention and that it's gone more mainstream, they are now, and I'm not just saying now, I mean, this has happened for years, but there is other things within that DNA that scientists have never really remarked on what it is. They said you can look up facts on it. There's about 97% of the stuff called junk that goes on with the genetics of this DNA, and no one knows what it is apparently. So we do know that the role of DNA is a long-term storage of information. So the question is what if this stuff called junk is not junk and actually does store information? So that's something we wanted to break down on there.
Yeah, and it's exciting. And a lot of my followers know that I am a DNA activation restructure practitioner. Samantha Bearden, who is our guest today, is my mentor for that. And it actually opened me up to my own modality, which I have just combined the two. But I am also a recipient of being activated and restructured, and Tanya as well. And so we may have time to share a little bit about our experiences, but the main purpose for me is just, and I know for Samantha and Tanya as well, is just to inform you guys. The biggest thing I hear from people is when I say, what questions do you have about DNA activation or DNA in general? They say, I don't even know, because they don't know where to start. They don't even know what to ask. And so the more that we can educate people on a non-esoteric way, a very human level, the better. And so I wanted to bring Samantha on, since she is the creatrix of this, and have her talk about it. And then I've received my own downloads prior to going live for the radio show. So I'm sure we'll have a very conscious, fun, magical conversation as always. So are we ready to bring her on, or do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm ready. Let's bring Samantha on.
All right. So right before I load her up, Samantha is the go-to healer for DNA activation with her Sacred DNA Restructure Method. She helps humanity empower themselves, uplevel their abundance game so they can have a bigger impact and change more lives with their work. As a shaman using her Native American ancestry combined with her New Orleans, Louisiana roots, and you will see that true when you meet her. She taps into that galactic angelic connections to help her client family bring to life and utilize their unique talents to better humanity. She believes everyone should live a life they love. And you can find more about her at samanthaheals.com. And she is also has the Abundance Flash Mob if you're on Facebook. So let me welcome Samantha Bearden. There she is.
Hi, Samantha. Welcome aboard. We are excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. That intro was awesome.
So, question for you, Samantha. Before we even actually get into DNA activation, how did you fall into this?
That's a great question.
Yes.
You have very, very interesting history, and I really wanted to bring that on the table.
Thank you. It's pretty long. Well, when I was about 11 or 12, I was sitting in science class. This is how I feel like one of my awakenings was. And it's interesting that in the DNA, had things progressed naturally, around this age would be the time when we would have that awakening, our first awakening, our connection to ourselves. But I didn't know that that's what it was. I was just like, that's BS. But I was sitting in science class, and my science teacher just said, we have 12 strands of DNA, and 2 of them are good and the rest are junk. And like, I didn't hear anything after that, because I went in the world of, what if it's not junk? It's not junk. I could feel it in my whole body that it wasn't junk. But I mean, like, that wasn't the time for me to explore that completely. I just had to I had to feel it in my body. Right. And so then I just started a spiritual journey. I feel like most of us do or want to. And it was just a big part of me. And I explored different learning and studying under masters and opportunities. And it just fell into my lap. I was like, hey, get your DNA activated. And I didn't really know what it was. I knew that it felt good to me and it felt right and true. And so I followed that gut instinct, and it did. It just opened up a world. Like, my mind was literally blown. And so I was introduced to that, around the 90s. So I had this spiritual awakening and experience around that time. And that's how I was introduced to it. But then it went kind of like, again, back into the folds of who I am for a period of time before resurfacing around 2014, 2015.
What I find really interesting about that whole thing, and it's something that comes up with all our guests and why we do this show, is that you just a key, and this is a key to DNA activation as well, and you'll appreciate this too. What you had said was, you knew it wasn't just junk, right? You knew, and you said you let it settle in there. But what was great is that as soon as you went into following your heart, your vibration, that's when all these doors started to open. And that's like the whole point of this, is like,
that is the whole point of this.
Higher vibration of it,
100.
When you are doing what you are supposed to be doing here on this place, it is so easy. It becomes so easy to be able to utilize your gifts, and that's just so key. And I love that. I love that you said that, because I've literally found a pattern in every person that we've had on here with that. It's pretty cool.
It is.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that was my journey up until this point, where it turned into a point of, creation. Like, I had to really work that muscle. So I'd like on my spiritual path, and I'm like, word, everything is good. Like, I'm feeling it. It's all doing it. But there was just more, because I had the conversation with myself. I was like, I know there's more. How do you want to show it to me? How does it want to show up? And so when it did, as a similar version to the DNA restructure method, it wasn't as it is today. I was just like, oh, really? Like, you want me to go talk about this? And, and it was like, word, and that's basically how it started. But it is about helping people find these best versions of themselves, which is all in the mind in this experience right here. But we're going through the DNA. So we're going back in these like layers and places that, when we think of the DNA, it's very limited, but it is not. It is infinite. There are universes inside of all that. So it's hard for us to fathom that, right? Mm-hmm. And so when, we have the opportunity to step into what I call our future self, but it's not our future self, because it's already there, already doing the thing, and already knows the thing. So connecting with that and trusting that part of you, but having that freedom to connect with it through the DNA work is how we do the thing.
Mm.
So I had a, sorry to cut you off, Tanya.
Okay.
I had a very simple, my team knows how I work, and I like to break things down like almost at a kindergarten level for people, because I feel like it's easier for people to understand. So I was like, how can we explain DNA activation and restructuring to where everybody will go, oh, and then will click. And what they told me was like, imagine 97 or 95%, whatever, of your house is pitch black. And all of a sudden we turn all the lights on, and now you're going to see everything. You're going to see all the aspects you never knew were there, and you're never going to be able to forget that that was there. Right. And then the restructuring they showed me as like, this is your carbon-based DNA, which is dense, but the minute we integrate that light, now it's lighter and brighter, and it's more like, they almost like pliable. And I thought, wow, that's a really good, simple way of explaining like the physicality of it. But if you were to, when you explain what a DNA activation is and the benefits, what is the easiest way for people to get it?
There's no easy way. You have to like talk, you have to speak into the person's listening, but the simplest way to say is that it is a way for you to connect to these amazing versions of yourself that are already out there existing, because then once you do this work, you get present to it, and feel good, using this method to do so. It's just another way to find those deep, beautiful parts of yourself, feel good about them, and then access that energy to create or magnetize the life that you want. That's it.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, me too. It works. We just go there.
Do you find that when people come to you for this, that they have somewhat of an education of it already, or were they just intrigued and they followed their heart to get to you?
Both.
Okay.
I have both, definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, I know from my perspective, when I decided to get my DNA activated, I was suffering from a autoimmune disorder, and I was being very open to holistic, and just, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it.
Right.
And so that's why I ended up doing it. But, it opened up a whole bunch of other things for me. But it's like one of those things that I know that I wanted to express to people, is that you might go in for one thing, and just to pre-warn you, there's all other levels to it.
Well, so I'm saying, like, you turn on the light, you're never going to forget what you saw,
Yeah.
Be open. But, and then, for some of us, I don't know how, this conversation is going to go, but for some of us, like, the work is to learn to love all of that. And for some of us, it is to organize it and give it proprietary, what works, in your life, so it's all a beautiful thing, because in order for us to access these higher levels where we want to go and hang out, we have got to dump the stuff. We got to like be willing to have it transform into something different. And that means our perspective about it. And, go from there. And so
if somebody is wanting to do this, because let's just say they have like a disease, which we all know what disease really, where it stems from. But if they have like a physical illness currently, or suffering from anxiety or depression, and they look at this as a way of helping them heal, is that something that you would agree with? Or do you feel that I feel like there's a lot of emotional work that still has to happen behind the scenes with them, right? But is it still something that would draw somebody in?
Yes, because it's still bringing it into their physical experience, but in no way do we take the place of a doctor. But what I'm experiencing is doctors coming to me and wanting to know more and work with me on this level, on this energetic level. I know they're open. I'm telling you, the whole landscape is changing around DNA. and around what we think is DNA, because we are growing, we're expanding our minds. We're not limited. We are unlearning. That's what I stand for. Unlearning. If you want to work with me, get ready. About to unlearn some stuff. But you know, it's becoming more accepted that we are more than just physical beings. We're energetic, spiritual, emotional. Even the emotion has energy in it. Everything has a light. Everything has a point. And they're starting to say, oh, we can measure it now.
Right.
Oh, can you? Area 51.
I love that doctors are coming to you, because I'm a firm believer in it's not one way or the other. I feel like there is a beautiful mix that can happen of the two.
There is a beautiful mix.
And I know a lot of doctors
getting together.
I know I have a friend who works with doctors, and they see things and they know things, and they may not come out about it, but they do. I mean, they experience miracles on their table, and, you know, things that happen, and they just don't say anything. So I'm a firm believer, and it's really time to marry the two together.
Well, it's coming. And education, having this out for educational purposes for people, for children. That's why I'm not saying any curse words.
Feel free on this show.
Yeah,
we're pretty open.
We're very adult around here.
Yes. No, but I mean, like, to have this opportunity, to have this, you know, for our youth, you know, to be involved in that. It's it's changing. The landscape is changing, especially around DNA. It's not all hokey pokey, woo woo anymore. No, my babies. It is not. It is like, we are coming together. And so you better get it together, because ain't no stopping.
It's definitely becoming more mainstream as people are awakening and going on their journeys. And, you know, it does help. I do believe the marriage of science and this metaphysical portion of it. It does help to see for the people who are fact-based, to open their minds when they're putting facts right in their face, like Greg Braden would, on Missing Links and things like that, these shows that are now more mainstream. But there's more and more of it, which is great, because there's so many people now willing to get help on, finding their way and finding themselves. So I think it's really cool. What, for DNA activation, and we broke it down, it brings in the light, as Johanna said to you, but if we can just break it down a little bit more, because there's different levels of this, correct?
Yes. Currently.
Okay. So if a person is starting out with that, what kind of direction do you give them? Do you just feel them out before you say, this is what I think, we start off initially, or because, I've seen like the 12 strands of 24 and so forth, there's a number, sequence to that. So if you can go a little on that.
Yes, I definitely intuit what level. Now, that in the beginning, so things are moving quickly, as I said, information and our processing, our openness, just the processing stimulates that, that energy to raise your awareness and want to know more about, the DNA work. And before, it was like 12 strand, and 24 strand, because we were still denser and we couldn't, what I saw was, my experience was in order to have just a smoother transition, it would be to just start with the 12. Nowadays, my whole experience is way different. I haven't done just a 12 strand activation. It's been mostly 24 strands, which are higher, like you can akin it to like higher dimensions, higher areas of consciousness that we have access to, and the information in there. And it's in our DNA, okay? But it's outside of our physical being. So that's been, in the area that I'm working in, that's been my standard lately. because I am working with, thought form leaders. I am working with people who are, on the leading edge of creating, movements, of creating environments for people to learn and grow and trust themselves and expand our consciousness. So those are the people that I deal with. So in that, then I would activate up to 24 strands. And that is where we start to elevate and raise our consciousness to connect with, and not go to, because you don't really go anywhere, but connect into that higher version of ourselves. Yeah. And, I'm explaining this in a linear manner. It's really hard because it's like,
when it's not. Yeah.
So much. What? You don't think so?
I think it is. I think it's hard too, because something happens when you get to a certain level in your consciousness where it really gets hard to communicate things that people really just look at you like, I don't understand what you're saying.
At that point, it's a transmission, honestly. Yeah. And if you think about it, if you are open to the possibility of us having experiences prior to coming to Earth, I feel certain that there was a time when we just communicated that way. So if you just start talking and people are like, kind of like losing it for a second, just say, this is a transmission, just go with it. You'll get what it means later.
Yeah.
It's true, because it's something that they need to hear. And we're starting to communicate that way. Y'all, telepathy, that's another thing. It's starting to be, it's popping. Telepathy. It is and more conscious telepathy. And the more that we do that with each other, the more we expand that.
Right.
It's going to be badass. It's going to be really awesome. Oh, I did it.
No, you can cuss all you want. It's all good.
It's all good.
Yes. So I do, to answer your question, yes, I do look, I see what's in front of me, but also I have it set up for calling in the people that, I can speak to on a certain level about this, and we can go there,
And what I love about this too is like, it's so open, especially with technology now, or just connecting to someone, like you say, telepathy and all that, is that these tools are in that higher realm, right? So you're not necessarily having to go to the doctor's office and seeing them face to face. So I know that's when I first got it. I'm like, okay, where do I go? Am I going to an office? Like, what's this experience about? Like, do I give them a checklist of what's going on? So, that's something I want to bring out for people who are really new on board. It's not like that at all. It's absolutely not. So, but I loved it. I loved how, just being open to the experience and seeing what happens. And I was like, do I lay down? Do I have to stand? Like, what's going on here? But really, it's just something that is in a how the practice goes. And it's probably different depending on who the practitioner is. But when they tune into you and are just channeling, it is an amazing experience, what comes out of that. And it's one of those things that if you are open to it, I do recommend it, just because just the experience itself was eye-opening. Just the experience itself, even if you could do just the initial 12 strands or so forth, or however, I know the number structure is kind of, going down or dissolving.
Yes.
Well, so much more involved.
We don't want to, pay too much attention, but those, everyone on the planet, my feeling is, and it hasn't changed yet, but I feel that every human on the planet deserves to have their 12 strands of DNA activated. That's what they came here for. At least one of the things, because it's for them. And then there are those that are working in the front lines that are, have access to different information that they want to bring through for the people that want to be activated at 12. But everybody has a purpose.
Yeah.
They're like anchoring lights everywhere. Like, everyone has a purpose. Even if you don't feel like you do, you do.
So we have a couple of questions on here. Vicky says, can this help people with addictions? And absolutely, I think so. I mean, it's really anything. It's anything that you're going through, right? Yeah.
Whatever you are open to seeing another possibility for yourself, Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you are open to seeing that be something completely and totally different, it can help you. Because it's really you helping yourself. It's just us unlocking the things inside of you, and then marrying it into your physical experience in an energetic way. It's really amazing. I mean, like, if you're addicted to coffee and you don't want to drink coffee, you do this. It works.
But it's not a magic pill, though. I feel like it just,
No.
it just
No.
gives them a whole, like you said, it just opens that perspective and allows
Absolutely.
you to
It
see all the
depends on
different
where you
versions.
are.
And with any addictions, you have to be the one who initiates it. It's not something where you can just throw it on a person, you know? The other question is someone had asked, and I love this question. Is it the same as quantum healing? It's
no, it isn't. But I want to go back to the addiction thing because something was coming through really quickly. I lost it.
It'll come back.
No, it's not the same as quantum healing, but again, we're all like in it to win it. You know, whatever speaks to you is what you need. Like for me, the DNA method goes with everything. It does not discount anything. It works. It's just like an amazing and very deeply profound healing, shifting method. And it you know, in a spiritual healing situation, there are likenesses and things that aren't alike. But whatever it is, whatever makes you feel good, do that thing, because that's what we need. We need to get to that place. And I feel certain that, you know, everybody's going to have their DNA activated. I really do. They're going to be like, oh, duh. Why not?
So let me ask you this, though. Sorry, Tanya. I just, this keeps coming in. So I want to ask, you know, what I think people are going to want to know is, can't our DNA on its own activate without us doing anything? And what's the difference between like going on YouTube and listening to an activation versus hiring a practitioner to do the restructure method that you created? Is there like a difference that you can explain that's not terribly long?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the energy in either one of those things. A YouTube video, I'm not saying that they're bad, and there are some good ones, but I'm very selective where I put my energy, and I don't do that. And a YouTube DNA activation. Yes, had we not, this, you know, we are able to activate. However, there are still frequency fences that we need to, that are connected to even our physical expression of ourselves, that we need to address. We need to bust kind of through that and break that energy up and lighten it up so that you can, you know, shoot through on this self-activation, you know, as you're journeying in ascension. The restructure method is a heart-to-heart. It is a heart-to-heart connection. And it takes the etheric work that we do anywhere and brings it down into the physical experience of each and every client. And so, and that's what makes it different, is that method. There are specifics to that method that, and it you know, it anchors into who you are, your representation of yourself in this life.
And, you know, I mean, basically I had the same question as Johanna, so she's jumping on it. But I would like to point out too with this too, because, and I think this is extremely important because, you know, when you said, can you do this on YouTube or anything with energy, because it is collective. When there are people on there who are tuning into collective energy or putting things out like that, it is collective. But what is so amazing when you do have a practitioner is that it's personalized. They are tuning into you. so I think that's really important to point out, is that you're not going to get that level of that through just, you know, an activation. You can do certain things on your own when you learn to do that on your own to some extent. But I think that's really important to show the difference of that, you know, of, you know, just Googling it or looking it up and so
Plus,
forth.
I feel like it's almost temporary. I feel like on YouTube, it's more of we're going to change the expression of your DNA, where with the restructuring, at least as a practitioner of Samantha's, you know, modality, every experience I have with a client is different. And the things that I'm even privy to as an honor as the facilitator of the healing, like the things I get to see. But I mean, there are specific messages and information that comes with each strand, with each cell that I interact with a person. And from my experience, is what I'm speaking from. Samantha could probably even go wilder, but I know someone asked how it works. But it's, I feel like that's a big difference too, about the just listening to one on YouTube versus hiring a practitioner.
Yes. I mean, absolutely both the personal experience, and that is part of it too, because you are expressing that expression of the DNA that you're experiencing, and creating up a whole new perception possibility, you know, a clearing for a person to experience in their life. And that is going to just raise their vibration, you know?
And it's so interesting that it's different for each individual. It's not like it's a car tune-up where you're like, okay, I got to clean this up first. I gotta. So that must be very intriguing for the both of you to go through that, is to always have a new experience with somebody. I mean, I'm sure that there's certain things that you can hone into that are pretty normal or common during each one, but I'm sure that's interesting to bring that out.
It's a blessing.
It is. What's cool about Samantha's program, for anybody who is already a healer, like I was already on the cusp of creating my own modality, and I was still drawn to Samantha's, and I didn't know why. And it was through going through that it was like the missing piece of the puzzle. And so I didn't like change her method. I just threw mine in with it and married the two because it just made sense that way.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, and that's the awesome thing about what she does and what she teaches for practitioners or people who want to be the practitioners is, you know, she encourages you to marry it with what you're creating and make it, you know, however it needs to be for you. And, you know, even though there's a set ethics and integrity and everything, it's still really cool that this is something that is just an added benefit.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. I love it. And, you know, I'm just grateful for all of the practitioners that do this work. They're amazing. It just deepens all of their work that they do. I love to experience, you know, what they're up to in the world.
Is there a crazy thing that you've ever seen? Is there like something that sticks out that's like the craziest thing you ever experienced doing an activation?
Oh, there have been some very interesting times. I should probably write a book. I gotta see how I can go about doing that. What my experience is because sometimes lots of very interesting things come through, and I don't ask who I'm speaking to on the other end. Like, I'm not like, I don't ask what they do. I just get this basic information, their name and their date of birth, and then I go from that. And then if stuff starts coming through that's like way, 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 way out there, I'm like, okay, who is this person? You know, like, are they going to be able to accept what I'm sharing with them? And so I have had experiences where, you know, we have gone different places way, way, way in, you know, in the planet, you know, bilocated. It just depends on the person that I'm working with. where they're willing to go. And sometimes we just chat.
Do you feel that these, you know, I know it's hard to try to think on the fly of like the most crazy experience you had, but do
They're
you
all
see,
crazy.
yeah, I'm sure they are, but if you could just generalize to some, and I know this is hard to generalize because each individual is different, but what are some benefits that you've seen? Because it is the higher, you know, you're trying to get to the person's higher being, right? Their higher self. What are some key benefits that this helps? I mean, obviously it helps clean up limited beliefs, things like that can help remove some of that. But what are some benefits? Because I mean, I went for health.
Yeah. Well, it's everything, you know, once you accept and allow in that area. Remember, you said you may come in for one thing, but you know, it's that experience, because you're experiencing fully your, what we call DNA. You're experiencing yourself fully with this particular method. Like when someone does a restructure method with you, that our intention, that's what our intention is, to help you go out and live your best life. You know, so we're going to, like, you know, do different things and hold space for you to allow you to feel comfortable stepping into that greater version of yourself.
And how do you go about with educating your clients when they are so new to this and they don't understand when you say you were, you know, like maybe you cleared something, or, you know, you have a blockage here, or there's a seal here? Because some of this terminology that comes out of it, it might not even know what that means. Have you found that a struggle? Have you found that a struggle to try to communicate that with them, or has that been pretty?
Oh no, in the beginning, are you kidding me? Like everything. It was just like, I mean, I was saying things that no one had ever heard of before. I was stringing words together, like the seals, breaks, and discord. That is specific to the Sacred DNA Restructure Method. By the way, our DNA has, you know, breaks, discord, and shadows. That's specific to the method. Each of our DNA does. So we work specifically in that. And so yes, there is terminology that might be over your head, but what I like to do is just tell my clients, like, you know, this is a transmission. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to do our thing. Sometimes things are going to, you know, they might seem a little, just, I want you to stay with me. We're going to, you know, work it that way so that they can receive what it is that I'm giving them. And then, you know, if they want to know more, I have my website, I have my Facebook page, of my Facebook group that has videos and information. And if they really want to talk to me, they'll DM me and we'll set up a time to talk.
That's cool. And I love the fact that it's not just that too, but you're actually working with other healers as well to help them in their practice. And that's a really beautiful thing to do, because that's what it's about. It's all about helping each other to get, you know, raise our vibration. So I think that's really neat.
It really is. 100%. I agree with that. And I'm glad that, you know, that I am part of something that supports other people in that way, because that's really, for my little heart, I'm just like, oh, yay, because I love to see, you know, I love to see my people like create these amazing things, and I love being a part of it. And I know what they're doing because I worked with them, and they're, you know, stellar human beings, and they're out there like crushing it.
And I totally back this whole program and taking this. If you're a healer and you want to up level and open yourself up even more, it's a really amazing, worthy investment, and it's one of the best ones I made. I want to say something about the process of having this done. I know people ask, is it like a remote healing? Is it live? And from my perspective, I do them remote, and I actually record myself in trance, and then I send them the audio. And I know everybody does it. Other practitioners that I'm friends with do it differently. So is there something that people need to know across the board with practitioners, or anything in that area that you want to share about how this process of having it activated works? And then how long does it take to integrate before they start seeing changes within themselves?
That's a good question.
Okay, process and integration. So the process, here's what I say. Trust yourself. And especially with the Sacred DNA Restructure Method, people who are certified Restructure Method practitioners they're awesome. And so trust yourself. If you feel comfortable working with this person, you know, and allowing them to do the work on you, then that's going to be your experience. So, and each experience is different. Me, when I'm, you know, talking about the method, you know, to the practitioners, I'm like, okay, like, how can we even stretch it even more, like expand it even more, do more, whatever you feel called to do in that, you know, activation. I mean, there is a template. There's something that's followed and it's discussed with you, but whatever shows up for you is specifically for you, and that's your healing. So your process is going to, it's going to show up however you want it to.
And that's good, because it's not like this is not cookie cutter at all.
It's not cookie cutter. It's not like, I don't know how other activations work because I don't do them, but I know that, you know, there are ones that you have to like continually do over and over again, is what, from my understanding. But this is tailored to you. It's all about your DNA. We have a template and we have our, you know, our intuition and what we, you know, our certification, what we stand for, and we utilize that. And this method, everybody who does it is awesome. They're amazing and they're awesome and they rock and they will take care of you and they will love you, guaranteed.
And I think it's important to know, especially when we were talking about like addictions and the people in that mind frame, if somebody is, you know, to the point where they're just looking to get a quick fix, right? They're going to be closed-minded to some extent. So they're not going to have those results if they are open, but also willing to do the inner work. And that's a big part of it, is still doing the inner work, that it's a collaboration of you and this other individual. Would you not agree?
Yes. And that inner work has a lot to do with forgiveness and loving on yourself. When that light shines on you, that was the thing that I wanted to say way back when. That was what came through for whoever. It's like when the light shines in you, the work is loving on those parts that you don't want to love on. And yes, this work, you know, helps. It shines a light on that, but it also like really gets you present to your power, because we don't hold you in this disempowered space, you know? But yeah, there are crazy things that come up when you activate people's DNA, and like sometimes they're, you know, lifetimes you see things, and you know, ascended masters or angels will come in specifically and be like, I got this. And you're just, you know, the channel. So, but everyone has guides that are up there or around here or out there or in here that are waiting for them to connect with them, because it's a higher version of themselves. And these guides can help you be the better version of yourself on this planet.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So how long does the integration take on average? I know that's really bad to put an average out there, but that's the question I always get is, well, when will I start seeing effects? When will I start opening up? And I'm just going to tell you the questions that I get. When will I start opening up to my clairs? When will I, like, they're waiting for like this timeline of process of how is this going to integrate and show up and manifest in my life? And so what do you say when that comes up?
Well, that it's already manifested, and you know, holding it away from them is it's part of their reframing that they need to do. Holding that away from them is where the treasure is, because that once you get over that, then you'll experience this realm of abundant, on purpose, magnetizing, manifesting being that you are. So integration processes, it depends on the person's, willingness to integrate and the way that you set that up. Sometimes, if you have an experience of, this person that is really present to what the words that you're saying and also the energy that's coming through. So it's kind of a huge dynamic there. And so you want to, might put it in a container so they can filter it through, and that might last a week or two. Sometimes it takes people months, but they are in the conversation and they start to see the nuances. Maybe they didn't pay attention. Maybe someone was like, what have you been doing? You look really awesome. You're glowing, or, wow, my relationship with my mom is so much better than it was. Relationship healing is one of the number one awesome jams. People are like, what?
Yeah.
The possibilities there, just there. I talk about that in our group. I'm like, who wants to do this? Because there's endless possibilities here.
And I mean, I'm pretty open with what my experience. I mean, I don't have anything really to hide. I'm pretty much an open book. So for you guys who are asking, because I know there was a question here, when you work on an individual, what can you expect from the integration? Remember how I said that you might think that you're going in for one thing and other stuff comes in there. When I did this, I was going in for, some connection with my body, because I was learning my body as a map. I knew that I had some emotional stuff that was coming up. It was not something that a doctor could pick and probe me with anymore. And I had to be open to other things, that there's might be something, bigger issues here. And what I had found through the experience was this journey into not only my inner child, but also relationships in general, and how I was utilizing my body and so forth. And it did open up that doorway for me to do my own research on me. So that is just some of the things that can possibly come up on somebody. I mean, this is all different. You're going to have a different experience for each individual. But I went in there going, all right, I'm going to see what this is about. I mean, I'm constantly itchy and I'm getting all these skin rashes and I have no idea what's going on with my body, but it's been like this for 6 years and I can't do it anymore. So I had to be open to some stuff. And when I had the experience and I really started to tune on myself, and what I got out of it from my practitioner was mind-blowing, just not because I was utilizing my gifts, but I was aware of certain gifts I had, but it really helped me to find my map to my own body and to see that. So that was something that was really I mean, I was just so blessed to have that experience. So everybody can have a completely different experience from that.
Yeah, I didn't even know why I needed it. At the time, I had only been awake for a couple of years and not practicing any spiritual anything. I wasn't doing nothing. I think I just started meditating. But I was feeling, my clairsentience was wide open and I was feeling everything and I was overloaded and I was just drawn so much to this. And I'm like, I don't care what it is. I just know I have to do it. And I did it. And it wasn't very long after that. It was within a few months after that I started having contact with other beings and communication. And it just exploded and accelerated my path tenfold easily. But I feel like the biggest thing as I do as a practitioner is educate my customers on what they could experience and what to be open to, because I feel like the more open they are, the easier it will be for everybody. Because that's what it is. It's like Samantha said, it's literally, it's like lifting. I feel like the more attached you are, the harder the integration will be. The more you let go and just allow for the experience to unfold, the faster it integrates.
Mm-hmm. I mean, allowing is the key. And what I really want all of us to get present to is that it's not that hard. And we are unlearning, but the more that we become comfortable with this conversation, talking about it and being open to it, the easier the unlearning becomes, and the quicker we start trusting ourselves, healing ourselves, creating like, amazing, technology and lifestyles and loving each other. I know that it seems like a way broader, it seems way out there, but these little steps right here, these open lines of communication, are the tools that help that movement, expand.
Right. Can anybody get injured through this work if they have their, like, can there, is that something that can happen? I'm just pulling from questions that I feel are out there.
I mean, I have never had anyone get injured.
Me either, but I have heard of stories.
It's healing. Well, I haven't heard any stories with the method,
No, not with your method.
No. So that's the only thing that I can comment on. I feel that the integrity and the source of this method is so much so full of love and healing that it's really cradled in that energetically. I really feel that the heart of it is that. And so there's no intention of that there. It just wouldn't happen. It hasn't happened. And, we don't physically do things to people. Those of us that do DNA restructuring and do have a physical, maybe they're massage therapists or they're acupuncture, Rolfer, that's their practice. The Sacred DNA Restructure Method does not require that you physically touch someone and hurt them.
Well, and I also think it comes down to just doing your research and going with somebody that you has a track record of integrity. I think that's an important message to get out for people who venture out when they get off here and they decide to go do their own research and find somebody, is to make sure that person's in integrity.
Yeah, and that it feels good for them. It always has to feel good for you.
Have you ever experienced someone doing a completely 360 once they started doing this work?
You mean like turning all the way around?
Like just being able to like it just opened up their mind so much to the level of it really, really changed their lifestyle and everything.
Yes, most definitely. And those of us who, do the method really do experience that. We start to connect with what it is, that makes us tick. And we're just like, we're not going to let anything get in our way, or we're going to see, hey, something's in my way and I'm going to work on it. But yeah, I have seen people, do amazing things, amazing things. My son was the first one. That's really what got me into it. That's one of my stories as well, because when the method first came to me, I didn't know what I was doing. It just came in the middle of the night and I was like, word, yes, this makes sense. This is going to work. Okay, how am I going to do this? And my little baby, he was probably like 2 years old. He broke his femur and was in the hospital. And that time, amongst some tear and like, oh my gosh, I had the download to do the method on him. And so it was kind of like, I did it there. And he got out of the hospital and then he had to come back like for some random thing. He wasn't supposed to come back, but he had to come back, and they did an x-ray on his leg and the whole thing had fused back together within like 7 days. And
wow.
I've never seen that. I will not let you take the cast off because I will be kicked off the board, but I wanted you to see this. So
that's amazing.
I know that it was because of that. I felt it. I know what I experienced. I was able to, see what was going on. And when I went home, I was able to write it down, what the experience was. And that's how the method came out.
Well, and you started on your own child, and that was my
I
first
know.
one too, was
You know
my
how
child.
scary it was?
It is. It is. Mine was an adult, and that was my first. We have to do we have to have somebody we're working on throughout the learning. And I picked my daughter, who is she was only 21 at the time, but it is scary, even though, I mean, you have to really trust yourself when you're doing this, but it's been awesome. So
that is part of the experience.
If I'm going to do it on my own child, I definitely know I can do it on somebody else.
Word, sister.
So is there an age where you would say is best for somebody to do this? Because if you're saying your son was 2, I mean, is there a benefit to doing it when they're younger?
Well, okay. So according to what we know, as far as like energetic and chakral development, when they're babies, they're not fully developed. So again, you would be like activating them up to the potential. So you would be experiencing the potential because they haven't lived this in their life yet.
Okay.
But still, yes, definitely do the babies. You can do it when they're older. And we have a couple of practitioners that work on children and families, and they're awesome, amazing. But I feel that it is around, your coming of awareness, your coming age of awareness. I have worked on I've worked on children, and that was with their parents' permission, but I've worked on an adult who, just turned 21, aside from my sons and my children. But it was her choice, and she was having an awakening, and I honor that. So I feel when that is the best time for you to have your DNA activated and restructured for sure is when you are feeling like you're going through an awakening, and it can look like different things, like you're falling apart, your health is falling apart, but you're having this realization, you lose your job, but you're having this, realization, things like that. There are things, they look like they're falling apart, but they're really falling together.
Right.
Be a part that would, it's just like, or when you have the inkling, like, I need to have my DNA activated. I've had people come to me like, I don't even know what you're saying.
That was me. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I know I need to do it.
But at that time, Johanna, I had articulated my message.
Yes, you had.
I can't believe we're already almost at an hour. Are there final things that you want to let the audience know in regards to your practice, or just anything in general that you feel channeled to say?
Don't wait to find your magic, and you don't wait for it to show up outside of you. Don't wait for it to, fly through the window or in your mailbox. You have to take action to connect with this part of yourself. So if you're thinking about having your DNA activated and restructured, do it. Find the person that works for you. Call them to you. Like, really sit with yourself and love on yourself and call the person to you and have your DNA activated and restructured, because it's life-changing. It's for everybody.
Love it.
And we'll put all Samantha's information down in the description box below, because she says she does do activations and restructuring, but she also has a program for people who want to become facilitators. Do you have that currently open for people right now?
I have a couple of spots on one, but it's totally being revamped. So yes, and you got to get in, and you got to get in quick, because things are about to go change. But yes, I do.
Awesome.
I love that course. I mean, it's my favorite. All of them are though, but it's my favorite.
Well, thanks again. We appreciate you being on the show. And, like we said, we're going to post all your stuff here. So if anyone's interested, they can hop onto your website and reach out to you.
And
Thank
if you
you.
have had your DNA activated and you are just coming on to watch or support, let us know your experience and in the comments. I always think that that's fun when people to come on who have had an experience, share it with us, give us a few words or, anything you feel called to. We would really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And thank y'all. That was fun, and stay safe.
Yes.
We just put a whole good, yummy, lovely bubble around you. You're going to be all right, my boo.
I feel it. I so appreciate you. So Samantha, stay on, and everybody else, we will see you next week.
Take care. Bye-bye.